guys, welcome to episode 1 of The Pursuit. This is a video show where I interview people in New York City who are pursuing their own business, starting their own small business, entrepreneurs and creatives who are on their own path. And so in this show, I just want to share their stories with you guys and share about their challenges, their struggles, but also their successes, and ultimately get some insight and advice from them and share it with you guys. So in today's episode, my first guest is Rachel Lee. She's a good friend of mine who is a dancer, an artist, and project manager. She wears many hats. And yeah, so she's my first guest and very happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
Thanks. So I want to first have you introduce yourself and talk about your what you're doing in the city, what is your pursuit, and where you want to take it. But let's start with just a quick intro.
Yes. So, as you said, my name is Rachel Ha-Eun Lee. I am mostly a movement-based artist or a dancer, but I also am a writer. I dabble in photography, dabble in some music, and illustrate as well. I'm in the city because it's the place to be. It's like the artist hub. I feel like I'm able to pursue all of these different artistic endeavors in the city because there's so many opportunities for it. So many people here make art. There's so many spaces that you can make art and people that you can meet, and a lot of voices are here, right? Like busking in the streets versus the museums all over the city. So for me, I think this is the place where all of that can like intersect with each other, both awesome people and awesome art. And I feel like I'm able to tell stories and be a part of stories because it's so saturated in the city.
Awesome. And how you mentioned, your main focus is dance and movement based, but you also clearly wear a lot of different hats and have a lot of different interests. How did you come about dancing as your main focus? Like, is there inspiration behind it? What made it your main focus? And did you go to school for it? Can you talk about that?
Yes. So dance was kind of my first love. I was really lucky to where I had parents who were interested in the arts and they didn't get to pursue it, so they pushed me to pursue it for them, potentially. And I was inspired by High School Musical, the first movie, and there was like a summer camp that was teaching you some of the dances and the choreography. So when I was really young, I enrolled in that camp, and then during that camp, like the teachers were like, "Oh, this girl should be a dancer," and I was like 7 at the time, and that's basically where it started. I started doing dance competitions at a really young age and dancing as much as I ate or walked or slept or any of that. I think growing up in dance, I realized that it's one of the art forms that doesn't necessarily need another medium. So, for example, a visual artist has, a canvas and a paintbrush and something else that someone looks at, or a musician has their instrument in front of them. But with dance, it's that layer is kind of taken away and it's just your body. It's almost like the most vulnerable art form because it's like you as a person, as a human. And so I knew that I wanted to be a dancer, and in every performance and rehearsal, there's sort of this beauty of fleeting moments. Like you won't ever have the same exact moment with someone that you have on stage, even if you do that show or that work every single day, it'll always be different, which I think is really beautiful. So I went to NYU and got my B.F.A in dance, and before that I actually went to a performing arts high school where I also was dancing every day in a very intense way. But yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing your very extensive background with us.
Yes.
In dance. And now that it sounded like it started as a passion and just pure from an artistic standpoint, you love the idea that your body is like the tool, the only tool. And so I hear that it's from a very like artistic standpoint that you fell in love with it. How has it become like over time as you're trying to make it more into like a career and trying to make a living from it? Has it kind of changed like how you see it, or like how you approach it, or how you feel about it?
Yeah.
Maybe you could share about like some of the struggles with that too.
Yeah. I think I was lucky enough for when I was younger, I just got to dance. I was in institutional settings where I didn't necessarily have to think about the finances. Somehow it was funded for me, and I feel very privileged to get to say that. So turning dance into a career has been quite difficult. I feel like the funding for dance is quite minimal. For example, like European or Asian countries actually have like government funding dedicated to dance companies and things like that. That's not the case in America. So a lot of dance funding comes from grants or um, donors. A lot of dance companies are like nonprofit organizations. So the funding is quite small. Because of that, dancing in the city or dancing as a career, it's almost like a cliche slash an expectation now that you know that you aren't going to get paid that much. There are a couple dance companies that are full time, like a dancer is working 9 to 5, like a normal job. But typically they're project based, so they kind of happen in like a session that's like 3 months long that feels full time just for those 3 months, and then they might not have any work at all for like 6 months. And so it's kind of these project based, which makes it really hard to sustain financially because you never know when the next job is coming, or you don't even know if you'll have enough funding for that job. And even if you got that dance gig, you might be paid maybe just a small stipend for the performance itself. Sometimes if you're lucky, you get paid for rehearsal. So there's not enough funding in dance in general, and therefore dancers who want to make a career out of it, it's really difficult. And myself included, most dancers I know have other jobs or other ways that they need to finance themselves to live because dance in itself may not be enough.
That I'm very curious about. Now that you're mentioning, it's kind of we're living the starving artist classic. You mentioned the cliche of, it's like kind of a starving artist life in New York City. But with that, I think anyone who's been in that position, pursuing myself included, like as a videographer, photographer, we tend to do whatever is necessary to like keep the dream alive, and keep going. And you kind of alluded to it a little bit. Can you talk about a little bit of like what you're doing to, keep dance like viable for yourself? Like,
yes, yeah. So for me, to keep dance viable, it's this like balance between money and time. So in order to get the finances to stay in the city, because I want to dance in the city, I have multiple jobs. One of them is as a project manager at a web agency. So that's where most of my income comes from, and it's part-time. And I chose for it to be part-time because I wanted to set aside time to take dance class, do auditions, be a part of other people's projects, etc. I also am an outreach director at a nonprofit organization that intersects dance and social justice. I get some money from that, but like 90% of my income is from the project management job. So it's just giving me like a little bit more. And then outside of that, because I do have such a love for writing and photography and illustration, I am lucky enough to get to utilize those things to make a little extra side cash, like a side hustle, to just get some extra funding. So most of the time I'm running around with like huge bags with like dance clothes, maybe a camera, maybe my computer, and I will like fill my whole day like balancing all of the different jobs that I'm a part of to be in a place where dance is so popular so that I can perhaps get more opportunities here dance wise or artistically in the city, but a lot of that is at tension with needing money to afford to stay in the city. So it's kind of this like balance.
The balancing act of being an artist in New York City.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I'm curious, as you were talking about like all these things that you have to do, so what does like a typical day in Rachel Lee's life look like? Maybe like I'm sure every day looks different, but like averaged out over a week, what would a day look like
Sure.
for you?
So I have like two main days in a week. So either the day will consist of mostly my project management job around 9 to 5, and then I will have rehearsal or class or something of the sort from like 6 to 10 in the evening. Another day, so I switch like between that day or like a project management heavy day,
Okay.
or I will have a day that's like I wake up, I log into my nonprofit job, and then perhaps I'll go take a dance class or two, and then I'll log into my project management job, and then perhaps I'll have like a rehearsal midday after the project management job, and then maybe I'll like go photograph a dance performance that evening for someone else. So it would be like all of those things crammed into a day.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
like I picked up on like four different, I don't know, I call them jobs or occupations or gigs.
Yes, exactly.
You have dance, of course, and everything related to it, rehearsals, shows, I guess like choreography sessions, and then you have project management with like this company, and then another job with a nonprofit, and then you have your own side hustles on top of the side hustles.
Right.
Essentially, you mentioned photography, so that's all in. That could all happen in one day.
That could all happen in one day.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's busy.
It is busy. It is busy. So yeah, typically like my Tuesdays and Fridays are like the busier days, and then Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are more of like my project management heavy days.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's like Monday through Friday every like week in, week out?
Pretty much.
Okay.
There are days, if I'm not involved in a project at a time, maybe I'm not like rehearsing as much. The thing I didn't mention that's also like every now and then is just auditioning in general.
Okay.
So sometimes those typically happen in the morning, or for right now, I'm trying to transition from the concert dance world to more of like the Broadway dance world, which has its own set of rules and regulations in terms of auditioning. But sometimes it requires me to stand outside in line at like 4 or 5 a.m. So sometimes I start my morning literally waiting in line at 4 or 5 a.m. and logging on and working while I'm waiting in line, and then hopefully maybe getting seen for the audition, maybe not even being seen. So there's kind of this sense of like needing for flexibility in my week, because some opportunities just come up every now and then.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, what was it? Broadway dance, and then what was the other thing?
Concert
dance.
Yes.
Are there, as someone who knows virtually nothing about dance, what are the broad categories that professional dancers like yourself go for? What's the opportunity there? What are the possibilities? If you could just kind of briefly give us an overview of what that looks like
yes.
in your world.
Dance is such a range and can be applicable for so many things. So there's the concert world, which is typically what you see on a stage. That's just dance. So think ballet companies, like at Lincoln Center. Think Alvin Ailey, like modern dance. So it's more of these like theater, very classically trained dancers. Then there's the commercial dance world, where it's like music videos, like background dancers for pop artists, like that kind of vibe.
Super Bowl show.
Exactly. And then there's like the musical theater Broadway route or theater route. So it's like, it's also stage production, but typically it's commercial style. So commercial is more like, the jazz, hip hop, that kind of thing. And those influences are very much in like the Broadway world. A lot of it is based off of like jazz and tap. It's kind of shifting now where contemporary dance is now influencing the Broadway world, but like contemporary in itself would be in like the concert dance category, if that makes sense. And then there's a whole other realm of dance where it's like performance art, where it's just like very abstract, movement based art, explorations, improvisations, and that also could be considered like under the concert dance sector.
Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's great to better understand the bigger picture of the dance world.
Yeah.
From my experience as someone who's also like went into like pursuing something creative to turn it into a business, it starts off with, passion and like it's all about the creativity and the artistic nature of it. Over time, as you want to make more money from it and make a living from it, you find that you have to do more of your time is spent doing non-creative, non-artistic things. Like you have to market yourself, you have to talk with clients, you have to look for potential clients. There's a lot of admin work that goes with it, checking emails and replying back to people. And over time, I feel like that builds up more and more to the point where it's like half and half. Your time is spent doing the creative stuff, but also doing what I call the business side of things. So I'm curious, how has that been for you? Like, do you see that happening in your world, and how have you like approached it and dealt with it?
Yeah, for sure. So one aspect I didn't talk about in my like concert world, commercial world breakdown is that the through line for all of them is being a freelancer or freelance dancer, and that requires in itself for you to market yourself. So for me, that looks like, taking time on working on my website, editing and updating my reels so that's up to date. And since a lot of dance is funded through grants, some of that time is through grant writing, like filling out applications as to why they should fund your artistic pursuit. For me as well, because I'm a freelancer, there are two different collectives that I'm part of that the heads of those collectives sort of head the admin side. So for our shows and stuff, they're counting our ticket sales and posting on social media. And sometimes like our rehearsals, we have to allocate time to film like social media promos for those. One of the collectives I'm in is also working to get their nonprofit like 501c3 status so that we can collect more money, but they're putting in a lot of work to gather all the correct documents, create a board, things like that to make it more sustainable for them in the future and invest it more as a business rather than just a company that creates dance work. Another side of it is with like the Broadway side and commercial side, a lot of people have like an agent that kind of helps them with the sort of branding, marketing side, and that helps you get into audition rooms. They have a lot of say and use their own networks to help you in your network, so sometimes they take care of that, and I am lucky that I do have an agent that can sometimes help with that sort of stuff.
Actually, you brought up a great point that segues perfectly because I wanted to ask you about social media. And obviously every small, whether you're a large business or a small business now these days, everyone can use social media to their advantage. And you mentioned that you and your group make reels, or you make them for yourself, and you use that as a means of promotion. And yeah, I totally see that in my world of photography, videography. Like, your Instagram feed is your portfolio and your advertisement, and people hire you. Some people just get hired directly through their Instagram. So I'm curious, like for you, how has social media impacted your pursuit, and your small business as a freelancer dancer?
Yeah. I feel like often...
Good and bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like often I feel pressure to have to post things on social media regarding my artwork. I feel like most of the time, maybe because I'm shy, I put it as like a story rather than like a feed post on my own social media so that people know it's like there and existent and that I'm working on stuff, but maybe it's not a way to like sell myself or like advertise in that way. I also think it's hard to have such a saturated world on social media because you're seeing like the successes of other people and all the projects that they're doing that maybe you're also interested in. There's also, with social media in general, there's this aesthetic you have to meet or this look you have to have. And I feel like because dance, as mentioned earlier, doesn't have that like separation, like it is your body, I think that also plays a huge part in what you see on social media for dance, right? So if you're seeing like a show on social media and everyone has like the same look, you know, they're all like 5'6" and they're all super thin, you feel like if you ever want to get that sort of thing, you have to also be that look and advertise yourself on social media as that look. So rather than it like being yourself, sometimes you're trying to show that you fit into whatever role that maybe is already created. I think as well with social media, especially for dance, a lot of people are now using it to promote their classes. So actually, there are many dance studios in the city where they'll put like on the screen like class will be filmed, so that not only the choreographer or the teacher has their classes promoted so that people sign up and they can make more money, but also students of those classes can take the film that is being filmed in class and use that as their auditions, reels, etc. And sometimes a lot of those things like trend, so people do get jobs from like a class combination that's on social media. So it is like definitely an impressive tool, but also the same way that social media in general can cause comparison or insecurity, there's very much that aspect existent because it's just so vulnerable, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see the merits, the good and the bad. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, it's a lot of comparison and um, you know, you feel like there's like a pressure to do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there's also like you can get inspiration from it and it can be innovative.
Absolutely.
If you use it the right way.
Yeah, and what's super cool is I think for me growing up, I didn't have much of an education of like non-Eurocentric dance. Like I was very classically trained in the European styles like ballet, modern, that sort of thing. So I also love that social media allows me to see dance in or art in like internationally. Like there's a Korean dance company that I just discovered recently and I was like, oh, their movement feels like mine or something that I'd be interested in. So I think it's nice that it can bridge that gap and you can like see what's going on everywhere and kind of your network just automatically grows with social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I don't know if you maybe have more insight into this, but like TikTok, for example, my experience is that early on it got really popular because people just put dance videos on it. And I feel like it's still like the number one thing on TikTok. Strangely enough, it's like just people dancing.
Yeah.
Like whether you're famous or not, you copy someone's dance or you copy a trendy dance or you know, whatever's trending, people will do that dance in their version of it.
Yeah.
Does that have like any
Oh,
impact on your space or like do people, you know, do you come up with choreography through seeing what's trending or, you know, I for myself I followed like some dance groups and I'm sure they have like TikTok. Mostly I followed through YouTube, like Million Club, 1 Million Club in Korea.
Yeah.
There's some other ones, but I can't remember.
Yeah, for sure. I think I personally find TikTok dances so entertaining. And that's the other thing I personally love about dance and movement in general is that I think everyone is like made to dance and made to move. Like that's why people go out to clubs. That's why people like any sort of music you like jam. I think it's innately in everyone, honestly. But there's a sense of like training and curation that like makes it like less accessible or like more elite.
Yeah.
Um, and so for me, in general, like my artistic vision is actually trying to bridge the gap between like high curated art and like inaccessibility to it and making it more accessible through different avenues, whether that is like making a dance that has a strong story so that someone who may not see the technical aspect of the dance like is moved or feels it in some way. Like for example, maybe for you with your videography stuff when you watch like a film, you're like, "Oh, that was beautifully shot," or the lens that they used
totally.
was nice.
Absolutely.
But like for me, it's like, "Oh, I'm crying cuz the story like I don't have to have the knowledge of what's going on behind the scenes to enjoy." So with dance, I feel like I try to do that same thing. So I actually love that TikTok is sort of an avenue to like bridge that gap. But also people get like hired from it too in these like higher up spaces. For example, there's this couple called like Costin Mayer and they would make TikTok dances in their living room. And now like as of like a couple weeks ago, they're like choreographing a stage version of The Waitress like musical, and they like got so much of their fame from TikTok and doing these like goofy dances and trends in their living room.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a really awesome tool and avenue. I personally haven't made TikTok dances for them to become trendy, but I have secretly done a lot of the trends because I think they're just fun. It's just fun songs, fun choreography. But also, I feel like in both the collectives that I'm in, we like send each other TikToks or Instagram reels of like something we see. So like for example, both of them are very like partnering heavy, meaning we're like lifting each other or like trying to defy gravity in some way. So we'll see like a video of people like standing on top of each other or something like really cool and we're like sending inspiration to like want to try those things. So it does inspire, which is really cool.
Yeah. And it sounds like you mentioned you were secretly doing. Do you think that is a possible path? Like you could become more of a like social media dancer? Is that a thing?
I feel like
way of saying it?
Yeah, I think that's the right way of saying it. I feel like that's not the path I want to be on. I think it's because before my project management job, like another job I wore, or a hat I wore, was doing social media for like a major dance company.
Okay.
And doing like the admin side, curating, shooting the content, posting it, all of that.
Right.
And social media is just hard. Like there were people that were like commenting their own opinions and like I had to like post every single day and like there's like this upkeep. Like it's its own career, really.
Yeah.
So I think for me that shunned away, like that made me shun social media as like a career or like a daily practice. For me, it's just a way to like remember moments or even remember trends in the moment. Like I think some dances it's like, oh yeah, that dance from like 2018, it's still in my muscle memory and I have a video of it. I think for me it's more of like that pathway more than like a promotional tool or something that I see myself doing more. I usually do it like as a joke. Like yesterday I had a performance and I vlogged my day, like follow me, a day in my life. So I definitely like did do that, but with not with the intention of it like trending or for people to watch, more of like so I can remember this moment in time and or maybe poke a little fun at those kinds of videos. But I enjoy making them and it makes me
and people enjoy watching them.
Yeah. And so
there's someone out there who will enjoy it.
Right. So I love that sort of thing and I like watching them back for myself. But yeah, I by no means am like need to use all the correct hashtags so it like gets into the algorithm. It's more of like for me, maybe my friends and family, that sort of thing.
Yeah. In this interview, I want to weave in like different aspects of your life that kind of influence your decisions, or like how you operate in this business of yours, in this pursuit of yours. So like, is there like a faith or philosophy or principles that you follow that kind of guide how you approach your overall mindset, your motivation, your attitude towards this goal of yours, being a dancer?
Absolutely. I think there are values that I have that definitely influence like my own relationship to my own artistic voice, which I'll get into, but then there's also how I act in an artistic world and with others because of the values and the faith that I have.
Oh, yes.
So
please.
for myself, I think I identify as a Christian, and it's really like trusting God that he'll have things work out, or wherever he's leading me is not like in vain. That every project, every person that I meet, he's almost like perfectly placing me in that environment, and also just like gives me a huge sense of gratitude. I feel like I've experienced miracles in my career where I felt like I potentially really wanted an opportunity or wanted something to work out and it like didn't, but then somehow like God created like a window for me to like crawl through to get that opportunity, which I think is just a really great story that he's telling. So I think for me, it's like trusting that he's given me this gift of art, dance, whatever it may be, and wanting to use that to A, glorify him, but B, like when things get really tough and I feel really insecure and like hopeless about all of it, knowing that, there's someone looking out for me in that. I think also too, when it comes to myself and other people, my experience in the art world slash dance world is pretty tough. A lot of dancers can be mean or very catty, and I feel like going to an arts high school and an arts college really showed me that. I think there is this scarcity mindset when it comes to artists, that there's only X amount of slots and you have to be the best and you have to like tear everyone down so that you can rise above. And I experienced a lot of that and witnessed a lot of that. So I think for me, I have this motivation to kind of change that narrative. I also think with artists in general, like a lot of them see Christians as judgmental and condescending, which has happened in history or on the news or even in my own life. Like I have a lot of church hurt. So I think part of that too is in every room that I walk in, there's like this framework of my faith in which I want to also change the narrative of not being condescending, of actually being welcoming and meeting people where they're at, no matter where they've come from, no matter how they identify, whatever their experience may be. I think it's important to me to be an example of not what you typically see in the news when it comes to people of faith that, can be very hypocritical and thinking that they're the best. I want to be really humble and I want to encourage people and I want to celebrate their successes with them. And I think a lot of that comes from, yeah, wanting to change that narrative. And yeah, both as like a dancer to like not be catty, but also like as a Christian to not be like judgmental or block people out for whatever reason.
Yeah. I think those were great examples of like living out your faith and your values in a work environment and a creative environment.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I think everyone is struggling. Like, I think there's no point in comparing struggles or comparing like your failures and successes, because I think even if somebody has like your dream, I guarantee you like they're probably also still struggling or feeling like it's not perfect. And so I think everyone is on that boat and it's like an even playing field.
So, what stage would you say you're currently at in your business, in your creative pursuit? Yeah, can you share where you think you are on the journey?
Mm. Um, it's interesting because like logistically and like internally, I know that I'm a professional artist, right? Because I am getting paid to dance, illustrate, write, photograph. But I feel like I'm not like a professional, or it's hard for me to identify with it. I feel like I still very much feel like I'm like in an emerging stage, perhaps. I think I'm not doing exactly what I want to be doing artistically or at the caliber at which I wish for. So I think I'm in the stage where I'm trying to take steps toward that goal, but figuring out how to get there in that goal. But at the same time, trying to be grateful and excited and loving like the current things that I am a part of and get to do. So yeah, I think I'm like in this emerging stage. It's almost like, you know, a hero's journey where they like leave home and then like something awful happens and then they have like a cave, they like, go into a cave or something and they have like a revelation, and then they're like building their way up before they have to do like the final battle like back home and then like return in that area. I feel like I'm like in the cave or like coming out of the cave of trying to figure out the steps or the game plan. But I've like still made this journey of like leaving home, learning things on the way. So I'm not like at the beginning, but I'm kind of in this stage where I can see like the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm like trying to work how to get there. I feel like a lot of that end goal for me is being able to just make enough money and be a successful business with only my artistic stuff. Love I would love to not have to do so many side hustles and just get to do the artistic stuff that I love to do all the time, and make enough money doing so. So I feel like until I get to that point, or that sort of being my end goal, yeah, I'm in this like middle brewing stage.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. I would guess most of us are there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this video series is about. It's not, I'm not just interviewing people who've like made it or at the end game or the end stage of their business or their pursuit. I want to talk to people who are like in it and still chasing after it, and just hear about their like struggles and their challenges and what they're doing to like face those challenges. So yeah, I think it's awesome. I like how you said you're on that hero's journey and you're in the cave. It's a very like tangible. You can like feel what stage you're at. You're like fighting for it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So what does, I guess, me kind of related, like, and you kind of alluded to it already. What would like success for you look like? What does it ultimately look like? What do you see it like? If things are going well, where do you see things like 5 to 10 years from now?
I think for me, the reason why art is so beautiful is that I think it just like can move someone and make an impact. I think for me, success looks like creating work or being a part of work that moves people. Um, a lot of that more tangibly for me kind of looks like the Broadway route. For me, eventually, I would love to like pursue dance and other art forms outside of the city. But the thing that feels specific to New York that I feel like I have to do before even thinking about leaving is the Broadway route. But within that, I feel like what is so beautiful about Broadway is that people come from all over to be moved by a story, moved by music, moved by movement in a world where they can just like escape to for the 2 hours or 3 hours that the show is. And again, there's a sense of live theater where that one moment will not be the same the next day, or it's not the same as it was the day before. So for me, that's kind of the more like logistical side, but also, yeah, it would be nice to be more financially stable with just using art rather than having to find a ton of other jobs to support that art. I feel like I never have enough time. Like, I feel like if I wasn't working my other jobs, I would have more time to take class and grow in all these different styles that I want to learn, or be a part of other artists' work that I just want to be part of and try to close on for a change. Or, develop relationships and spending time. For example, like one of my favorite things about photography is like portrait photography, and like knowing someone's story in that moment and seeing them grow from like feeling super awkward about being in front of the camera to like super comfortable by the end. Like all of those types of moments to me feels successful, and yeah, I feel like that's kind of just what I'm chasing after. Impacting others and I guess making money doing it.
Hey, we all gotta make money, so.
Right.
Especially if you want to live in New York City and stay here.
Yes.
To the audience out there, people watching this, who are probably on their own journey as well, pursuing their dreams, whether that be small business or they're an entrepreneur or they're a creative, artistic person, do you have any advice for those watching, pursuing something of their own?
Yes. There is a choreographer artist named Jay Carlin, and he had done this exercise where if you imagine that you have a lemon, if you're holding a lemon, you can picture it, it's like bright yellow, the lemon wedge, like all the perfect triangles, and like he let us do an exercise where you like close your eyes and you like take a bite of said lemon. And for a lot of people, they like salivate when they imagine biting this lemon, or they can like visualize it. Basically, the point of that exercise is that if your imagination can change the literal like biochemistry of your body to like salivate, there's maybe like imagination is real. And I think as an artist, we think that a lot of our ideas and imagination and goals feel so far away, or they're just dreams, but the reality is like imagination is real. Like everything that is created, all the art that we enjoy, the clothes that you're wearing, like the building, all started from someone's imagination. So maybe that gap isn't as large as we think it is, and it's just, yeah, there's value in what you imagine, so just keep imagining.
So visualize your goal.
Yeah, or it's like what you create has value. It's like more tangible than you think it is. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good parting advice.
Yeah. Did you salivate when I talked about biting a lemon? No, it's okay.
Maybe if I think of something else.
Oh.
Like
not a lemon.
Like a pizza or something.
Oh.
Because I'm craving pizza.
Oh yes. But same idea.
But okay.
Yeah, I think we just think our dreams are so far away, or what we create doesn't have value, or is just stuck on here. Yeah. But it's like real. It's like it can be in front of you, or it can be created.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that wraps up our interview. Thank you so much, Rachel, for joining me today and sharing your story with us about your journey as a dancer, a freelance dancer in New York City. And all the inspiration and advice that you gave to us. I want to give the chance to the audience, the viewers, to follow you and see more of your work. So all the cameras on you, please let them know where we can find you. And yeah.
Yeah. So I'm part of two dance collectives based in New York City. One is called 52 Dance Company, and the other is called Synchronous. So you can find us on social media. But for my own work and what I do, I have a photography Instagram called at Through the Lens of Arlie. But you can also go to my website to see everything I do at rachelhaeunlee.com.
Awesome. So thank you again, Rachel, for being our first guest on The Pursuit. And for the viewers out there, please like this video if you found it helpful or enjoyable, and subscribe for more content, and look out for more episodes about people in New York City pursuing their dreams, pursuing their ambitions. And we'll see you in the next one.